Good morning. It's Friday, September 5th, 2025. I'm meteorologist Andrew Pritchard taking a look at your Canadian prairie weather story. Got a few things I'm going to run down here, but I'll be honest with you. I wish I had a more interesting video, a video with more clarity here as we head into the middle and late part of September. I'm really kind of searching for a narrative here, and I guess I'll explain myself as we kind of click through the slides here. Starting off with a big Great Lakes Hudson Bay trough. This big area of low pressure right now is kind of bringing some cooler air into the region. We've even had some snow on the north side of this storm system, but delivering yet another shot of cool, dry air to the prairie, portions of the Corn Belt. Cooler morning temps in place right now. This air mass will modify as we head through the next 7 to 10 days, but still looking at this mostly dry, mostly mild outlook as we head into the middle part of September. Now, I'm showing you the last 10 days of precipitation. We can hone in on the prairie provinces up here, the portion that is actually shown here. And you can see a lot of dry real estate here. A couple corridors where we got some localized showers in far southwestern Saskatchewan, southeastern Alberta. You've also got kind of a localized corridor here where we had some heavier thunderstorms in portions of southern Manitoba. But there's a lot of real estate that saw little to no precipitation over the last 10 days as we kind of entered this drier pattern that I mentioned last week. Probably has some staying power as we head into the middle part of the month. Now, what we're looking at right now on, again, Friday, September 5th, I mentioned this big upper level low kind of parked right here between the Hudson Bay and the Great Lakes. And so we've got flow coming around the backside of this area of low pressure. That's delivering that reinforcing shot of cooler, I mentioned drier air. So that drier air, it does modify pretty quickly. So if I kind of show you here, we've got another area of low pressure across the Pacific. We've got ridging in between. So this ridge of high pressure here is going to allow some warmth to build back in as we head through the next 5 days or so. But right now, if I take the arrows off of here, we've got cool, dry air being brought down into the prairie. So we've got some clouds, some showers across eastern portions, but a lot of clear skies across Alberta and Saskatchewan here this morning. There's a lot of smoke off to the south right now. The northern portions of Alberta, Manitoba, Saskatchewan really dealt with a lot of fire activity here during portions of May and June, then into July and early August. We've seen recent rains kind of mitigate that, but now we're seeing kind of a hot spot here across the Pacific Northwest into portions of southern British Columbia. So if I animate the smoke forecast, again, thanks to this area of low pressure with flow coming around it, we're kind of keeping the smoke out of the area right now, but there's a lot of it available. And when I say the area, I mean the prairie provinces, the northern plains of the United States. You have a lot of smoke available here. So as this ridge begins to expand, this area of low pressure moves east. Ridging begins to kind of shift east along with that. I would not be surprised, I guess, what I'm driving at as, smoke-free as we are right now, would not be shocked if we're dealing with quite a bit of thick wildfire smoke at some point next week. Now, we take a look at the radar. Mentioned we've got some rain, even some snow falling across portions of Ontario. This will all continue to slowly move off to the east as we head through the next 24 hours. I'll show you that with the high-resolution NAM model. Again, this is the activity that we've got right now, and this is going to be moving out of the way, giving a quiet weekend to the majority of us in the prairie provinces in terms of precipitation. Anything else falling across the weekend here is going to be across far northeastern areas, or maybe some shower activity up across the front range here as we get into Sunday and Monday. Zooming out, taking a look at the European model, we'll animate this, and again, not a lot to talk about as far as organized precipitation goes across the prairie. Let it play there, but now I'll bring back the loop here and step through time. I mentioned here maybe some moisture still wrapping around the backside of this upper level low here across Manitoba. That could be the form of some cloudiness, some light rain, some drizzle at times as we head through the day today, tonight into our Saturday. It's then going to be a dry, quiet weekend for the rest of us, and then as we get into Monday, a little front kind of sneaks through again, maybe a chance for some very light showers. This is not meaningful precipitation by any stretch of the imagination. I can run this loop all the way out to, this is now September 10th, September 11th, and then you're still seeing just, at best, isolated to scattered shower and thunderstorm activity. So dry through much of next week. It's not till we get to kind of the third week in September that I start to think that we've got more in the way of meaningful rainfall chances. And again, I mentioned getting out to that point, I have low confidence in the details, specifics. I'm not really going to hit that very hard. I guess my bigger point is 7 to 10 days from now, or over the next 7 to 10 days, pattern predominantly dry across the region. I mentioned that shot of cooler air coming into the prairie right now. Those temperatures quite cool across Alberta and western Saskatchewan. We're talking about some areas of patchy frost. Temperatures in the single digits. They warm up as you head east, anywhere from 5 to 10 degrees across portions of eastern Saskatchewan into central and southern Manitoba. So we got some cooler air in place now. We are going to see that warmth expand, though, as we look at kind of the next 10 to 15 days in general. And as you look at the precipitation outlook here across North America, kind of an interesting look. A lot of dry real estate here across the eastern half of the U.S. You see monsoonal moisture being drawn northward here, getting all the way up into portions of the Pacific Northwest. This would be good news here, of course, with all of the fire activity. But you kind of see a neutral look across the ag belt here in the prairie provinces, but I still lean drier overall. You're kind of getting to that near average line there, but mid-September, not an especially wet time frame across the prairie provinces. So, near average this time of year, not all that stormy anyway. And I think that the loss of detail here is kind of making this look perhaps a little more active than it's really going to be. So my eyes are kind of on the broader picture across the Pacific Ocean. And I encourage you to check out Eric and Matt's more recent, videos here on the bigger picture globally, because they're kind of, understanding and trying to understand where this pattern is going here as we get into mid to late September as well, and what those impacts could be. So definitely want to keep an eye on what they're talking about. But when I look at the Pacific, I mentioned last week this blocked up pattern where when we get a block, we often get very bunched up, very stuck, very stagnant. So I'm seeing, a very messy picture here across the Pacific. And when I animate this, though, what I like is as we get toward the end of this loop, you're seeing a more simplified, Pacific jet stream here. And I mentioned that what we would need is kind of a burst of stronger momentum you see coming across there to kind of push the block out of here, get the pattern moving once again. And that's kind of what we're seeing being illustrated here as we get toward around the 15th or so of September. 10 days out there, so don't hang your hat on that pattern change. It's just kind of, when do I see this pattern maybe getting moving? It's way out there, about 10 days from now or so. If we focus a little further east across North America, again, we've got this big trough here, strong flow coming around the base of that, but it is just completely messy as you make your way out towards the Pacific Ocean, and you look at, where things are coming from. It's messy, it's blocked up, and there's not a whole lot going on. So in the near term, jet stream flow overhead, pretty quiet, pretty stagnant until we get a stronger push coming in here across the Pacific to bring in some stronger flow. So you see these little disorganized swirls kind of making their way through. This would be around, September. This is the swirl I'm talking about, and this is the date. So around September 11th, September 12th, that could bring some isolated to scattered showers, but that's not a well-organized storm system. What I would really rather see, something like this. This is not exactly how this is going to happen. Here's we get now 9 days from now. This would be getting out to around September 14th, September 15th. That's a stronger flow, consolidated area flow in the jet stream coming across the Pacific. And this would push more organized storm systems, something like you see right here into the prairie. But now we're talking about, again, September 17th, 18th, and 19th. So my point here is, as I was searching for a narrative, something interesting to talk about, a storm system making its way through the prairie provinces, I'm getting way out here to September 18th, 19th, and 20th, when I don't really trust this to be a verbatim story. We've seen the rug kind of pulled out across, North America with some of these pattern evolutions over the last 2-3 weeks. So I cautiously keep an eye on this evolution as something that may change around the 15th, 16th of September. One more way to look at this, go ahead and rewind it back again. What are we starting with? A big trough here. So ridge west, trough east. This is a pattern that delivers cool, dry air to the prairie. It is not one that supports meaningful precipitation. We get moving here. We go through September 7th, 8th, and 9th. The pattern resets a bit, but we're still seeing ridging across the prairie. This is a mild and dry look. You see this trough here across the western U.S. This does not eject. This does not, get the pattern evolving. It kind of runs into a wall here with this ridge that's being kind of pushed east slowly. It's really the stronger push of flow as we get into September 13th and 14th that we need to get the pattern moving, kind of get some stronger flow in here. But you still see a lot of ridging, a lot of higher pressure, a lot of warmer colors here across Western Canada, at times Central Canada. So this is why I keep that mild outlook in place here, and why I still think probably drier as we get into mid-September as well. Still not seeing something that says to me this is going to be a flip back to a wet pattern. If anything, it says maybe we introduce some showers and storms as we get towards the middle and later part of the month into the third week of September. I'm kind of yammering on and stumbling through what really isn't a very concise story. So as I kind of just show you a zoomed out look the next 2 weeks, here's the big area of low pressure I've spent a lot of time talking about between the Hudson Bay and the Great Lakes, taking up a lot of real estate, delivering a lot of cooler air, not just to the prairie, but portions of the central and eastern U.S. To be honest, it's got more staying power down here to the central and eastern, portions of the U.S. It kind of modifies and turns warmer, but the driving force behind it is all the same. It's this dry air being drawn into the region here out of the north by that area of low pressure. It's quiet then as we head through the weekend into early next week. We get into September 9th. We're now into September 10th, September 11th and 12th. Here are those scattered showers, not a meaningful rainfall event by any stretch of the imagination. And then as we get into September 13th, 14th, and 15th, potentially getting into a pattern that delivers more in the way of areas of low pressure, chances for showers and storms, variation in those temperatures across the prairie. But this is something we'll have plenty of time to watch and talk about as it gets a bit closer. If I just animate the next 15 days of precipitation, again, you can see quite dry as that trough, the big upper level low, moves east. It's not until we get towards the loop here, September 13th, 14th, 15th, and 16th, you're seeing more in the way of, precipitation across Western Canada. But if I take it all the way to the end of the loop, there's a lot of real estate here that's still completely dry, completely left out, during the entirety of the September 5th through the September 20th timeframe. So I showed you the ensemble model that had a lot of green shading here as we looked at the next 15 days compared to average. But this is why I say that doesn't mean a whole lot to me. It's not a real wet time of year across that area. It's just kind of saying we've got some monsoon moisture. This is not a result of a jet stream pattern that is going to be bringing a lot of precipitation or interesting weather into portions of the prairie. Got it? Good. Let's look at it one more way. 10-day probability of looking at a half an inch or more of precipitation from the European ensemble models. And what I really want to drive home here is, again, we saw the potential late flip in the pattern here in the 10 to 15 day time frame, but over the next 10 days, that probability of picking up half an inch of rain or more is pretty low, 30 to 40% at best. Better way to kind of illustrate this, who's dry over the next 10 days? This is the probability of picking up less than half an inch over the next 10 days. And so again, you see a lot of yellow, orange, and red on there. That's what we're talking about, a better than 50% chance. And this really, I think, of all the maps that I've shown you, illustrates the next 10 days, probably the best. As I talk about really disorganized, messy flow over here at a parting upper level trough, northerly flow coming in across the prairie, down into the Corn Belt. This is not a pattern that really supports just about anywhere across North America being especially stormy. You can just start to find some little corridors where we've got stalled out fronts or clusters of showers and thunderstorms, but you don't see a widespread chunk of the Canadian prairie down into the U.S. Ag Belt that's especially active right now. It's a drier look. And as I mentioned, that cooler air going to begin to modify slowly from west to east over the next week or so, slowly trending from cooler in the east to being generally mild just about everywhere. This is the days 10 to 15 outlook, so September 15th through the 20th. Mild air being advertised here to kind of expand across North America once again. What does that actually look like here? Calgary, a little warmer here, 25 for the day tomorrow, 27 for the high, and then kind of moderating down to the low to mid-20s. Pretty similar look here, mid-20s for the highs for much of the next 10 days in Edmonton. Saskatoon, again, here's that shot of cooler air. Rebounding, though, mid-20s already back in place by Sunday and Monday. Same look here in Regina, 18 for the high tomorrow, 24 on Sunday, 26 on Monday. And then the same thing here just a couple days later. Slow progression from west to east. Winnipeg, 13 for the high tomorrow, 18 on Sunday, up to 22 on Monday, low 20s then for the rest of the week.